Well, according to the anti-Israel crowd, apparently Seth Dillon, the insurrection Barbie, Will Chamberlain, you have Brandon Tatum, you have loads of people online that are the pro-Israel side. They're supposedly being paid $7,000, a strange figure to be brought up, but $7,000, ladies and gentlemen, the $7,000 club, they've been calling it, the anti-Israel crowd. And well, the supposed people that have brains and common sense and well, a proper conservative based around the word of God, I might add, like the Insurrection Barbie, like Brandon Tatum, like Seth Dillon, like Will Chamberlain, like many of them that I follow, and actually have, a little bit of reason and rationale that go along with it and can see what's going on the right, or the alt-right, I should say. The alt-right wants to become the new right, and no thank you very much. They were calling out Tucker Carlson having Nick Fuentes on and having no challenge whatsoever. And supposedly, according to the anti-Israel crowd, the delusional ones, they went after these people and were like, oh, the 7K club, they're at it again, guys. 7K club, they're absolutely seething at the moment because Tucker Carlson decided to have on Nick Fuentes. And, well, we had something to say about it because we disagree with many of the things that Nick Fuentes has to say, and it's probably dangerous to be platforming someone like him on a major scale without any kind of pushback whatsoever. But, of course, the anti-Israel crowd are the highly emotional, highly strung dingbats, and it's almost like rage bait in many senses of the definition in the word, right? They're trying to get a reaction from us. So they will attack us and they'll attack our viewpoints on things. Like, for example, there's this crazy woman that I started looking at her profile. And when I say crazy, I'm talking about crazy, crazy ideas. Apparently, this woman is a Palestinian on the right. Yeah, supposedly a conservative. Her name is Isabella Moody. She's been going after Brandon Tatum, Seth Dillon, Insurrection Barbie. And I mentioned in the other video that she has grown enormously. So many people are following this woman. Like, her platform is growing like wildfire. You know why that is? It's not because she's smart at all. It's because she's attacking pro-Israel people. How about that, right? So here we go. These are the worst people and absolutely our enemies. There's my dog. If you saw her, she's changing position. Saying that Brandon Tatum, Seth Dillon, the Insurrection Barbie, Will Chamberlain, and many others are apparently our enemy because they're on the conservative side. They've actually got brains. So here are some other things that she said. When scum like Mark Levin, Brandon Tatum, Dave Rubin, and Josh Hammer attack you, consider it an endorsement. Right. Well, when those people attack you, it's usually because you've been attacking them and they're defending themselves by going after all the crazy things you've said about them that are actually lies. So I don't think you understand what you're even saying. It's kind of like that Princess Bride. I don't think you know what you think you're saying at the moment. Like, I don't think you understand what that means. Kind of mentality. Lobbying groups in America that represent the interests of a foreign nation shouldn't be allowed to exist. America first, BITCH. Aren't you Palestinian? Aren't you siding with the Palestinian people? So much for being America first, BITCH. So let me get this straight. If you are pro-Israel, you're not allowed to be pro-Israel. And you can't possibly be America first or Australian first if you support another country. But you can definitely be America first if you support the Palestinian cause or if you support Hamas. That is totally fine. I support the interests of the Palestinian people, and I support Hamas too. How does that work exactly? I'm failing to see the logic in that. But when I am a pro-Israeli Zionist and all that sort of stuff, I can't be a Christian Zionist, because that means that I'm not my country first, even though that I am. But I don't get it. What the hell's going on? These people are nuts. A man should never get on his knees, not to propose to his girlfriend, not to kiss that wall in Israel, and not in any other situation besides praying to God. So I see you failed to mention Muslims getting down on their knees and their faces to worship a false god. Why not mention that? Now, before we get on to the Dave Smith defending Nick Fuentes being on Tucker Carlson, I know many people know Konstantin Kisin. So he's a brilliant man. I would espouse he has conservative values. He's very intelligent. But he goes, I think a lot of people are very confused about the whole discussion about platforming, censorship. I personally am not confused, but I think there are many people out there that are. I believe it is your right to eat anything you want, even things that are terrible for you, like dog crap. I also believe that it is your right to tell other people that you enjoy eating dog crap. I also believe it is your right to have people on your show who believe eating dog crap is good for you, even if you don't challenge them at all, while challenging anyone who comes on your show to say dog crap eating might be bad for you. I also believe it is my right to say that what you are doing is wrong, bad, and harmful. It is my right to point out that you are clearly partisan on the dog crap eating issue and in the wrong direction. It is also my right to say that I'm promoting terrible ideas. You are being irresponsible. It is also my right not to want to associate with you and to think that other right-thinking people shouldn't either. This simple distinction appears to be beyond a lot of people. Just because you hold or promote terrible ideas doesn't mean you should be censored or prevented from speaking. But I think it is essential that you are challenged very robustly on those ideas. The right has been so rightly focused on defending free speech that many people now routinely and in some cases deliberately confuse criticism for censorship. Any movement has to engage in a battle of ideas to work out which ideas it wants to adopt and which it doesn't want to include. Saying this idea should not be acceptable in our movement is not censorship, it's hygiene. Charlie Kirk understood this very well. It's amazing how many people who call themselves his friends do not. And like I said in the video that I made yesterday, I got no issue with platforming individuals. My thing is, why are you platforming them in the first place? They may have very, very provocative ideas, but if you're not going to push back on them, and everyone's going, well, the Tim Pool case I've had on PDF files, I've had on the worst of the worst, and they're on the left, and I've debated them. We have no issue with that. You know why? Because we know that it's wrong. When you have people that claim to be on the right that will say horrible things, most people will go, well, maybe he is right on that. Maybe he does have a point on that. And when he doesn't, so the devil is very, very clever. Doesn't take much at all. Can take the smallest, tiniest little lie. Even on a compass, if your direction is off just by an inch, not much, you can end up in a completely different direction. And you can end up at a different location as well. It doesn't take much. So, yes, we can platform people. We're not against platforming anyone. It's why are you platforming them? What is your intention to platform them? And if you are going to platform them, make damn well sure that your ideas come out as well. Make damn well sure that you push back on their ideas. So people with brains, hopefully, can see it and go, well, maybe this ain't good. Maybe I need to start thinking about this. I think we've lost the ability nowadays to do some critical thinking, which is what we need. Now, like I said in the beginning, we've got Dave Smith up against Seth Dillon. Now, Seth Dillon, I think, is brilliant, very smart, wise man. And when it comes down to this topic of free speech and censorship and things that you disagree with, Seth Dillon challenges Dave Smith about, well, if you disagree with a lot of things that Nick Fuentes says, why defend him all the time? What's the point? Have a watch of this.
Yeah, well, you also like Nick Fuentes and don't have anything to say about his bad ideas. So it's just weird to get like a moral superiority coming.
I got a lot to say about his bad ideas. What are you talking about, man? Look, I believe what I believe. Obviously, if anyone's ever listened to me, do I say the same stuff he does? No, we have different views.
Well, why do you like him? Why do you like him? Why do you defend Nick Fuentes? Why do you like him if you hate his ideas so much?
I don't know. I mean, like, I hate a lot of Pierce's ideas, and I like him. Pierce was for gun control. He's a dirty Brit coming over to my country trying to round up the guns. I'd still love to grab a beer with him.
Yeah, but he's never called for the execution of atheists, heretics, and perfidious Jews. He doesn't say that they should, burn in ovens and glorify Hitler. I mean, he hasn't gone that far, has he? I don't think Piers has said anything like that. I don't know why you'd want to be friends with somebody who has those kinds of views.
I have not gone that far, no.
Not that far, not yet. Well, look, I mean,
no, I have one more question for you.
I want to know what Dave thinks about Tucker essentially calling Charlie Kirk a heretic by saying that anybody who's a Christian Zionist is a heretic. I mean, that was Charlie Kirk, was it not?
Okay, but I mean, I think obviously he's speaking about evangelical Christians in general and saying that this violates the Bible, like to make it about Charlie Kirk.
And that's a circle that Charlie Kirk fits inside. It applies to him.
Okay, but so he's criticizing a view that Charlie Kirk had. Yeah, I disagreed with Charlie on that too. So what's your point?
He said he hates those people more than he said he hates those people more than anybody else and called them heretics. And yet he spoke at Charlie Kirk's memorial so glowingly. How do you reconcile those two things?
Yeah, he obviously didn't hate Charlie Kirk. There you go. Come on. This is like ridiculous. Yes, he's making a point that he thinks that actually the Christians who put Israel above their own government and believe that like only Jesus can come back if the Jews control the area, that is goofy, and I agree.
Yeah, well, if you say you hate people that have Charlie's views, then you're saying you hate Charlie.
Yeah, okay.
I don't.
Good. If that's the argument you want to go with, okay. I don't know.
Two very different beliefs, right? You got Piers Morgan that doesn't like guns, would actually espouse gun control, versus Nick Fuentes that is a Hitler apologist. He hates the Jews and he's a glorified racist. And we want that apparently to be espoused on the right. We want to have the right consistent, supposedly, with Nick Fuentes' ideas, a 26-year-old. Now, yes, I said he's 26, so he's quite young. I'm going to be 30 next year. I'm still quite young. There's a vast difference, a vast distinction between what I believe in versus Nick Fuentes. Firstly, I'm not a racist. Secondly, I'm not a Hitler apologist either. Thirdly, I don't degrade women like he does. Like, there's so many things that Nick has said of late and even in the past that is terrible and I would never say. And there's reasons why I would never say them, because they're wrong. Does that mean that it's like we should stop platforming Nick Fuentes? Again, one's got a question. Why? What is the point of platforming someone like Nick Fuentes? Yes, he is on the rise currently, and one's got a question again. Why is that? Why has he got so many people following him? That should actually be rather concerning. So many Nick Fuentes apologists by the looks of things. And for someone like, for example, Matt Walsh saying that we must unite with the right, someone like Nick Fuentes, that's concerning to me. Because I don't want to, my values don't even align with his. at all. I saw quite a few comments on my video that I made yesterday about all this, and even the one when my first one talking about the Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes interview, and I had my 2 cents worth about that. And loads of people were going, I love Nick Fuentes. Why? Why? Anti-Israel, Hitler lover, Stalin lover. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen Tucker's response to that, oh, really? You're a Stalin lover, okay? He grilled Ted Cruz for less, but yet he lets Stalin fly. By all means, it's all right. You can say whatever you want. Now, I'll end with this. Dave Smith goes, we ran the experiment of trying to cancel Nick Fuentes. It didn't work, and now he's back. We ran the experiment to try and cancel Nick Fuentes. And those people that were trying to cancel him, I think it made it worse. I think now everyone's going, because we try to cancel him so much, we've now platformed him and we've given him the biggest audiences there is. And that's probably the worst decision that has come, in truth. It's quite alarming and quite dangerous, if you ask me, to platform someone like Nick Fuentes. Doesn't mean you can't. I'm just saying it's quite dangerous. They're wanting a new version of conservatism, and not having it. Have a watch of Dave Smith.
It's an interesting thing. Where is the line about who you platform? Right. For example, there are the free speech purists who say everyone should be platformed. I put it this way. I've never had Nick Fuentes on. Tucker Carlson just did a one-on-one with Nick Fuentes. It's been very controversial. But I have sat with serial killers and psychopaths and very dangerous mass murderers and so on for crime documentaries. And people rightly say to me, well, hang on, you're giving a serial killer a platform. Why would you not let Nick Fuentes on? And it's an interesting question. So, I mean, Dave, for you, what do you make of Tucker Carlson platforming Nick Fuentes? Should people like Nick Fuentes have free, unfettered platforming across anywhere that people want to have them? Should there be any limits to people in terms of giving them a platform?
Well, I mean, I think that's a decision for anybody to make of who they want to talk to. I mean, I believe in freedom of association. By the way, if you look at the numbers, I'm not so sure it wasn't Nick Fuentes platforming Tucker. And I mean this with, I love Tucker. He's a good friend of mine. But look, the one that makes it particularly ridiculous with this Nick Fuentes thing, and I agree with you too. By the way, I've talked to all types of people. I've had conversations with communists on my show and socialists, and weirdly, that never seems to be an issue, which is very strange in a way, because it's you could make an argument communism is the worst ideology ever. It's responsible for 100 million deaths in the 20th century. It's still responsible for the oppression of people in Cuba and in North Korea, maybe quasi in Venezuela. But with Nick Fuentes, particularly in this moment, what's so funny to me about it is it's guys, we ran the experiment of trying to censor Nick Fuentes. When I say we, I don't mean me. I never believed in that, and I had him on my podcast, back in the day too. But this guy is huge. It's just undeniable. He is huge. So at this point, you're just saying, would you like to not have a conversation about this? I think there are lots of bad ideas all over the place. I always err on the side of sitting down and having a conversation is better than putting people in silence, trying to squash people. And look, Nick Fuentes was one of the most censored people in the country, and he's bigger than ever right now. So clearly that didn't work, and now we're having conversations.
Yeah. And one has got to ask the question, right? Why is Nick one of the biggest people online at the moment? Why? Someone needs to answer that question. And I think it's because of this hostile takeover, and they want us now, the biggest voices on the right, want to take over what conservatism is. It's alarming. It's damaging and concerning. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to speak up and let our voices be heard. That's enough from me, but you guys take care of your place, and I'll see you all in the next video.